So today we're going to be reviewing the FIST introductions that about 2/3 of you submitted yesterday. Okay, these were the ones I asked you to write during the class period and then submit at the end of class. I've taken these off of Canvas and pasted them into a document so that we can edit them, and also so we can mark where the F, the I, the S, and the T are, okay? So let's look at this one to begin with. Does someone, well, I better read it just because we're recording, huh? Imagine being a student sitting in class. What am I even doing with my life right now? As your mind wanders, you think of how time could be spent so much better here at school. The teacher then says abruptly, "What did you just hear me say, student?" You look up from your paper and wonder what she said. Sometimes in class at school, it feels like the class will never end. Due to this, many students' minds will begin to wander and not focus on their classwork. Due to the long and hard days of sitting and listening to teachers talk for over 5 hours, this can get very slow to students. There are many other times that can get slow and tedious, causing school to be longer than it needs to be. With all of that unnecessary time spent in class, students can absolutely be unhappy with being at school. Time in class and in school should be shortened because it is hard for students to focus. Less time makes difference in how they learn and focus, and time will be spent more wisely in how the school is run. Okay. Let's see. Where do they, first of all, do they have an F? Do they have a feeling-filled story? Okay. Where does it end? It starts here with imagine. Where does it end? Where does the story end? Here, here. Probably right here, right? Okay. This is the F. This is the feeling-filled story. Okay. Does it have an I? Okay. An introduction of the topic without taking a side on it. That should come right after your story. Okay. It only needs to be one sentence, but I guess in some cases it could be longer. If we were following the formula, it should go from here to the should statement. Okay, so right here. Let's read their I and see if they're introducing the topic without taking a side on it. Sometimes in class at school, it feels like the class will never end. Due to this, many students' minds will begin to wander and not focus on their classwork. Due to the long, hard day of sitting and listening to teachers talk for over 5 hours, this can get very slow to students. There are also many other times that can get slow and tedious, causing school to be longer than it needs to be. With all of the unnecessary time spent in class, students can absolutely be unhappy while being at school. What if we just got rid of all this kind of meandering talk about class at school and just had that? With all the unnecessary time spent in class, students can absolutely be unhappy with being at school. Time in class should be shortened because it is hard for students to focus. Less time makes a difference. Okay, I'm not going to get into that yet because we're going to do the becauses after we research, okay? Okay, pretty simple. Okay, it looks short for an introduction. What would you guys say this introduction needs to be better? How would you expand it? I'm turning the camera around so you can talk. Please yell. Raise your hand. Gage, what about you? How would you expand it?
Maybe add 3 reasons why.
I deleted those. How else would you expand it? Within what we have there, the F, the I, and the S. Cass? Make the story longer. How would you make it longer, Cass? What's it missing? Does it have a twist? Not really. Does it have a lot of emotional detail? Not really. Okay, so I would say that's what it needs first of all. Do you feel okay about the introducing the topic without taking a side? Okay, this one needs to expand its story, I think, and maybe shorten that topic. Remember, before we did this, before we took all that stuff out, when it was this long, this kind of stuff right here should be in the body of the paper. Okay? The only purpose of the introduction, okay, the two purposes of the introduction, and the reason we use FIST over another style of introduction is because of these two purposes, okay? The purposes of the introduction are, one, to get the reader's attention, and two, to tell the reader where the story is going, okay? The feeling-filled story gets the reader's attention. The introduction of topic transitions them into it, and then the S and the T, the should statement and the 3 points, tell them where the essay is going. You follow FIST, you'll have a perfect introduction that does those two things. Let's look at another one. You're a student at Ridgeline High School. You have 5 hours each day. You have 5 class hours each day. Some of these possibly being AP classes. Maybe you partake in sports after school. You walk into your first class and realize that you've forgotten to do your homework from the night before. You couldn't finish your homework because you had practice or life just got in the way. You're stressed. You're stressed about the assignments you didn't finish, the tests you aren't prepared for, etc. The stress starts affecting your grades. You start to fail your tests, assignments, and classes. The amount of stress you have starts stressing you out more, and it becomes this endless cycle of stress. The stress of a school takes a toll on your mental health. The amount of stress high school students experience is not taken seriously enough. Should student stress levels be taken more seriously? Okay. Yes? You guys feeling stressed right now? First of all, let's label the story. Let's look at just this part right here. Okay, that's kind of the F. Do you guys feel that's telling a good story? Nobody's name's on this paper, guys. You feel free to speak freely. Is it telling a good story? Do you like the story it tells? Is there any way it could be better? Maybe some dialogue. Okay, maybe some dialogue would be good. Okay. I think where the story is right now, it's a little too generic. I think if we were to be specific about it, like choose one student to focus on, right? It might be a little better. Like if we were to say, like, Madison is a student at Ridgeline, just like any other. She has a full load of 5 classes, including 3 AP classes. After school, she's on the drill team. Blah, 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 right? That would be a kind of a good way to do this, this story, in this case specifically, okay? Other suggestions? Just about the story. Maybe you could use a different word besides stress. Yeah, that is kind of repeated a lot. Okay? Good suggestions. Good suggestions, guys. Okay, and then the I, the amount of stress that, whoa, what did I do? Okay, let's look at the I. The amount of stress high school students experience is not taken seriously enough. Is that introducing the topic without taking a side? No, what's the problem? It takes a side, right? Maybe what we could, what could we say instead? Ooh, a statistic would be good. You could say something like, student stress levels are rising faster than gas prices, or something like that. Or student stress levels are higher now than they've ever been. right? You could say something like that. That's not taking a side, that's stating a statistic, that's stating a fact, right? Okay? Now let's get into the should statement. First of all, is that a statement? No, it's a question, right? So what would the should statement read? It'd probably read, student stress levels should be taken more seriously. Okay? Here's the one problem I have with this topic, and I'll just say this for anyone who has a topic similar. This topic, I don't know if it's that debatable. I think it's important to talk about student stress levels, but I think there might be a better way to frame this essay through the topic that is a little bit more debatable. Because you ask 100 people, should student stress levels be taken more seriously? They're going to say, 99 of them are going to say, yeah, it's a real problem. So I might say something like, rather than should it be taken more seriously, like maybe propose some sort of solution, right? Like schools should have more training for students on stress, or schools should take responsibility for student stress levels, or schools should provide time for students to relax, or students should eliminate homework in order to eliminate stress. Okay, so make sure that you're able to argue it. Okay. Last one. Actually, let's do this one. Okay. Gage is a young, healthy boy. Gage, a young, healthy boy. Gage, a young, healthy boy. Okay, do you guys know why I put commas here? Okay, this is called offsetting commas. Okay, if you have a part of the sentence that isn't necessary to be understood, okay, if you can read the sentence without it and still be understood, you need to offset it with 2 commas on each side. So Gage spends countless hours is the exact same thing as Gage, a young, healthy boy, spends countless hours, okay? And young and healthy, this is actually a choice, but I like to separate my adjectives. Okay, Gage, a young, healthy boy, spends countless hours every night in his room staring at his phone. He notices that his eyes start to hurt every night after school. He tells his mom that his eyes hurt, so she takes him to the eye doctor and gets a checkup on him. The doctor leaves the room for a few minutes and comes back with a serious look on his face. Gage, the doctor says, you have retinal detachment. Ever since the smartphone has been invented, many people have a problem with excessive phone use. Should parents set limits on their kids' phones so we don't have to use them, okay? Let's look at the F, the story of it, okay? What do you think of the story? It's good? Okay, any suggestions? Ashlyn, any suggestions? Do you know what retinal detachment is? Me neither. So we might have to explain what retinal detachment is, right? You could easily add something like, the doctor, though my brother-in-law is an eye doctor, and I don't know, I don't really trust his medical advice. Okay, the doctor continues explaining that retinal detachment is a common eye problem in which your retina, explodes in every direction, killing anyone within 6 feet. I don't know, right? Okay, but we need an explanation of what retinal detachment is and how that is related to phone use. Okay, so we might have to say that, have the doctor come in and say, it turns out it's related to your phone use, right? Because we have to make a connection between hurting your eyes and using your phone, okay? Ever since the smartphone has been invented, many people have a problem with excessive phone use. It's good. I see where this person is trying to go with their introduction of topic.